I want you to imagine the most bizarre, physics-defying freeze frame in golf. It's not a 400-yard drive. It's not a flop shot spinning backward. It's the moment Scottie Scheffler's club meets the ball. I've stared at it frame by frame more times than I'd like to admit, and my brain still does a little reboot every single time. There is a split second where his body does something that, by all conventional wisdom, should not work. And here's the part that should really make you curious. The best golfers on the planet, guys with green jackets and major trophies, have tried to copy it. They can't. Not even close. You clicked on this video because somewhere in your algorithm-fed golf rabbit hole, you've seen that strange foot slide, that crazily open hip turn, and you asked yourself, what is he actually doing at impact, and why can't anybody else do it? I've been obsessed with the same question. It's the kind of puzzle that makes you drag a chair into the living room at 11 p.m. and shadow swing until your dog judges you. And honestly, most breakdowns just say, he uses the ground well, and move on. That's like saying a fighter jet uses air. It doesn't scratch the real itch. So here's the promise. By the time you finish this video, you won't just hear another generic, he shifts his weight explanation. You'll understand the precise, almost uncomfortable biomechanical cocktail that makes his impact position so unique, why it's a move that even elite pros can study for years and still fail to replicate, and, strangely, why that might actually be a blessing in disguise. No fluff, no swing tips that ruin your back, just the bizarre science and a little bit of awe. Let's set the table. A textbook tour impact position is already absurdly difficult. Hips open about 40 degrees, shoulders slightly less open, weight mostly on the lead leg, shaft leaning toward the target, hands ahead of the ball. It's a coiled, athletic pose that 99% of amateurs never truly achieve. But within that elite group, there's a range. Rory McIlroy at impact looks like controlled fury, all rotational torque. Tiger in his prime was a masterpiece of centrifugal power. And then there's Scottie Scheffler, who looks like he's trying to sprint sideways while his right foot files a noise complaint. Here's the first thing that breaks my brain: his lateral shift. Data from 3D motion capture, according to several golf biomechanists, suggests that by the time he reaches impact, his pelvis has moved between 4 and 6 inches toward the target from where it started. That number alone makes other tour pros look like they're standing on a lazy Susan. Most pros get maybe 2 to 3 inches. Scheffler is basically relocating his entire center of mass into the next zip code before the ball is gone. And he does it without swaying his upper body forward. His head stays remarkably centered, or even drifts slightly away from the target. That combination creates a spine tilt that makes you wince if you think about the torque on your lower back. It's like his lower half is catching a bus his upper half didn't know was coming. Now add rotation to that slide. At impact, his pelvis isn't just shifted left, it's wide open. Reports from swing analysts who've measured his 3D data suggest his hips are opening closer to 50 or 55 degrees by impact. That's significantly more than the tour average. Try this mental exercise. Stand up right now, slide your hips as far left as you can, then rotate them open aggressively and keep your torso relatively quiet. If you didn't feel something pop, congratulations, you might be part jellyfish. This is where people like me try it and our body immediately sends a passive-aggressive memo asking what exactly we think we're doing. The physical prerequisites are gnarly. And then there's the foot. Oh, the foot. The right foot drag has become his signature, a move so visually distinct that it's almost a meme. But the drag isn't a quirky accident, it's a symptom. By the time the club makes contact, the pressure under his right foot is allegedly less than 10% of his body weight, sometimes nearly zero. The foot is physically being pulled off the ground not by a conscious lift, but by the violent rotation of his pelvis dragging it along for the ride. That trailing foot, with just the toe touching, is a giant neon sign that says, I have created so much lateral and rotational force, my body physically cannot keep that foot planted. Other pros might have a slight trail foot bank, but Scheffler's foot is basically an afterthought. If you tried intentionally drag your foot like that, your timing would vanish faster than your motivation to hit extra range balls.
Here's the real kicker, the part that I think even the most dedicated golf fans miss. None of these elements happen in isolation. The slide, the open hips, the trailing foot, they all fuse into a single explosive moment that relies on ground force timing so precise it's almost cruel. Scheffler uses the ground like a trampoline. He loads into his right side early in the downswing, then he pushes off and jumps. But his jump isn't vertical like Justin Thomas. It's a lateral jump combined with a ferocious rotational snap. That push-off propels his pelvis toward the target, and the very instant he lands onto his left leg, he's simultaneously rotating that leg and pushing back up. According to force plate data shared by coaching circles, his peak vertical and rotational forces occur at practically the same moment, right through impact. That synchronized double push creates a stability window measured in milliseconds. If you're a millisecond late, you either hang back and flip the club, or you slide too early and get stuck. So why can't the world's best copy it? This is where my curiosity turns into genuine respect. Elite pros aren't lazy, they're obsessive tinkerers. I can promise you that a dozen major winners have stood on a range, watched Scottie stripe it, and thought, all right, give me some of that lateral shift. And they'll try, and initially it might feel powerful, but then the alarm bells ring. A move this extreme demands a very specific set of physical traits. You need immense hip mobility, a stable lower spine that can handle massive shear forces, and a neuromuscular system wired to fire that timing sequence without thinking. For most players, even with world-class speed, attempting to add that much lateral shift leads to early extension, a stuck right elbow, or a two-way miss that makes you want to quit the game. Sources close to tour coaching say that several high-profile players experimented with increasing lateral movement after Scheffler's rise, and all reportedly backtracked because their low point control went haywire. The margin for error is just too thin. And there's a hidden cost that doesn't get talked about enough: injury risk. I'm not saying Scheffler's swing is inherently dangerous for him. He's built it over a lifetime. But biomechanical specialists have noted that the combination of extreme lateral shear and high rotation puts a unique load on the lumbar spine and the lead hip. For a player with a slightly different hip structure or a less robust core, that pattern could be a one-way ticket to a very uncomfortable physio table. Imagine telling your body, hey, we're going to shift laterally 6 inches, twist open 50 degrees, and absorb all that force on one leg at 120 miles per hour of clubhead speed. Now imagine your body's response. It would probably involve a strongly worded letter. So even if a pro could technically replicate the positions, the long-term sustainability might not be worth the risk. Sometimes the inability to copy someone isn't a lack of talent, it's the body's wisdom saying, let's not do that. Personally, I think there's another layer here that makes Scheffler's impact unrepeatable, and it's the most human element of all. This swing wasn't designed in a lab. It emerged from decades of playing in Texas wind, where you have to de-loft the ball and trap it to keep it from ballooning. His move is a functional solution to a lifetime of specific problems, not a blueprint you can overlay onto someone else's motor pattern. That's what makes it art, not science. You can learn the notes, but you can't play the song the same way. So what do we do with all this? Do we try to shove our hips 6 inches toward the target tomorrow morning? Please don't. Unless your name is on a major trophy and your body is insured for more than my car, it's not the right rabbit hole. Instead, I think the real takeaway is far more satisfying. Scottie Scheffler's impact position isn't a technique to be studied and stolen. It's a proof of concept. It shows us that at the absolute highest level, there is still room for a move that looks objectively weird and breaks the mold. And maybe the reason nobody can replicate it is simple. It's not supposed to be replicated. It's a custom-built key that only fits one lock. The next time you watch him stripe a 5-iron to 10 feet while his right foot flails behind him like a ribbon, don't try to decode it. Just lean back, smile, and appreciate the beautifully strange puzzle you just witnessed.